Spotlight, and Spotlight is on today. How are you, JJ?
Paula, I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Just what an adventure today has been. That's better. Well, yeah, every day is an adventure, and today has been a little bit more of one. So, yeah,
Yes.
it's a good day, and so I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, I'm glad you gave me the invite. I'm glad to share with the world whatever it is you think would be most beneficial to share with the world.
Well, yes, and there's so much. I mean, we have 20 minutes, and that is not enough to share everything, but first, I'd like for you to just say, and this is maybe, you know, challenging sometimes, but what 5 words would you say describing you in, right now where you are in life?
Oh, I would just say that I am passionate about helping people win.
There you go.
Yes.
Passionate about helping people win. That's 5.
That's 5 words.
Perfect. Thank
Yes.
you.
I didn't think it would be that easy. That was like, oh my gosh, 5 words.
I know, yeah. Well, you're good. So I had, I thought about some words that kind of describe you based on what we talked about, and the first one of them is resilient. Because I think we're gonna go a little bit into your background and what you do and all that, but something that goes through everything, I think, is resilience. Very inspirational and empowering and transformational.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are the words that came to my mind when we had our conversation. You told me a little bit about who you are and what you do and everything, and we're going to get into all that. Tell me a little bit about, maybe one thing that has really, like one experience in your life that has really shaped you in a big way.
Oh gosh. So I would say that the one experience in my life that has shaped me in a big way would probably be growing up with no money and living in a way where, you know, I didn't get the silver spoon. I didn't get all the fancy vacations. I didn't have somebody to pay to fix my car when it broke. I didn't always get the fancy meals or get to go out for dinner a lot. And so if I wanted something, I had to work for it. And uh, for me, I think that really did shape kind of who I am today, because working for things, when you have to do that instead of, going for something, it's hard to explain it, but you it makes you really really hungry for stuff when you have to just work your tail off for it and have to earn it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's true. And it gives you a certain foundation for your life, right?
Yes.
And I think that foundation, among many other things, I mean, you're an army veteran,
Yes.
and well, that kind of mindset probably does pretty well in the army. I don't know.
I think so. I mean, I always had a lot of success in my military career, and um, what one thing about a lot when you live in a community of people that are impoverished is that we really tend to take care of one another,
Mm-hmm.
and that translated really well to the military, because if you don't take care of the person to your left and right when push comes to shove and you go out into the combat zone or whatever the case may be, it's just inherent that you care so much about each other that you're willing to lay down your life, and that
Mm-hmm.
is yeah, it worked really really well. Well, it's a different level of servant leadership.
Yeah, exactly. And now you mentioned the key word, leadership.
Leadership.
Yes, because that's kind of like you've developed something really, really cool. And I mean, it's called like it you call it the warrior leadership.
Warrior leadership. Yes ma'am.
Yes. Please tell me, like, what is warrior leadership and how is that different from other, leadership, I don't know, points of view or modalities that people talk about?
So a buddy of mine, his name is Derek, otherwise known as DB the therapist. He and I have another podcast. It's called Warrior Leadership, And I have to name this first because it's the foundation of what I built this entire program on. And he's a therapist, and so that podcast bridges coaching and therapy, and we call it Warrior Leadership. Well, because we're both Army veterans, so we consider ourselves warriors. I mean, that's just kind of part of our background, and we spell leadership a little bit differently. So it's LDRSHIP instead of the full word leadership, and that embodies in the military what we call the Army values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. So that's warrior leadership, and the heart of that is all about serving others. But it's really the bridge between coaching and therapy. Leadership coaching and therapy is what makes warrior leadership so special.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the first time that I heard anyone talk about bridging between therapy and coaching of any kind. And so far, like in my experience of experienced both, has been there's always this division. It's either therapy or it's coaching, but it's hardly ever been bridged, or it's never been talked about in any kind of combination. So I'm really curious to know what like what does it look like?
Sure. So bridging coaching and therapy, I think, is very important because when you think of the foundation of them both, really you're helping somebody get unstuck. The difference between so with therapy, you're stuck because you have maybe some trauma, or maybe you have some anxiety, or for whatever reason you're just stuck because of some of those things, right? But with coaching, the whole idea is that you're going out and reaching your goals, whether it's a business goal, or it's just a life goal, or whatever the case may be. And so uh, when you bridge those two things together, it's really kind of neat because you can use the tools that therapists use. And I prefer to talk about the cognitive behavioral therapy tools, the ability to reframe negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And that way, if somebody comes to you and they may have a little bit of trauma, or they may have a little bit of anxiety, or but they're not at a point where they're so stuck that they need the therapy, right? Well, if you can be that coach that has the tools to get them to reframe those negative thoughts into positive thoughts, then that's warrior leadership. That's the certification that I'm working on. It's providing those tools so that a coach can transform trauma into success. And that's where the coaching comes in, because then you're able to go and work towards those goals. However, not a lot of therapists really get to that goal oriented phase of a person's life. So when you're thinking of a therapist, typically people are in therapy for a very long time. And
Mhm.
I know there are a lot of therapists who would like to graduate their clients, and sometimes they don't have the tools. Well, the warrior leadership coaching certification, it also provides the tools to that therapist to be able to graduate those clients to maybe a coach, or maybe they can help them get to their goals right there in therapy.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yes, that's awesome. So this is a new certification program, right?
Yes, it is.
So when are you starting that?
So I'm going to be starting it in January. I'm trying to fill up 15. I only have 4 right now. So if that's something that anybody that's listening would be interested in, I mean, hit me up on my socials. But I need 15 people there. So it's going to be the second Wednesday in January, which right now, looking at my calendar, um, that's gonna be the 8th. And we're gonna do it every evening for 6 weeks. And
Mhm.
that's how long the certification takes. And right now, oh gosh, it's only gonna be $150 per person because I'm trying to make it even better. I developed it for 8 months with Derek, the coach, but I think the audience is gonna be able to be the real ones that'll help me make that perfect before I go out and really start charging the big money for it, for the people who are serious about transforming their lives.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a brilliant program. Uh, just do something because who doesn't have trauma?
Sure.
We
Sure.
all do.
Everyone at some level, right?
Yes, exactly. Whether you recognize and know that you have or you don't, but you have, you
Sure.
know?
Yes.
So it's always there. So this is like, even if you initially don't necessarily have clients, I'm a coach. So from the coach perspective, you don't have clients that you think, okay, well, they might need a therapist. But those tools, like the cognitive behavioral therapy and all the other tools that are used by therapists, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience. I went to a lot of clinics when I had a 7-year depression, and it was, a long time, and I tried everything. And so I've been through a lot of these modalities in the therapy,
Hmm.
and they didn't help back then when I was depressed. But, I retained some of the information and some of the things that I learned. And some of those things, they flow into my coaching, not knowingly, but when you mentioned therapy and coaching and bridging the gap and using those, I was like, well, that's kind of cool because you
Oh
know
gosh, it's
you
important.
yeah. How has it affected like your life? Do you have in your own life, your path of coming to this point, how you've been able to bridge like therapy and coaching in either with yourself or with clients?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I've had my therapy route as well. I mean, for more than a decade, I've been receiving therapy for post traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression. I mean, it just stuff that goes with the things we do in the military, but also, I had a lot of trauma from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't actually start receiving that care until very late in my adulthood, just 10 years ago. But you know being able to overcome those things, what the military kind of teaches people to, or at least they used to. Now they're becoming more okay with trauma and therapy and all that stuff. But initially they kind of just taught soldiers to suck it up and drive on, drink water, change your socks, and move on, and all that sort of stuff. And once I started my journey, I it kind of unlocked a lot of what's the way to say it, it made a lot of sense why there were certain things that I was never getting myself into, and it was because I was uncomfortable, but it wasn't just discomfort. It was it was there was trauma associated
Mm-hmm.
with it. And so therapy is important because you face those things. But, graduating from that, there's so many tools. I mean, I did a lot of things when I was in the military. I was a resiliency trainer. I was trained by um, by UPenn to go and teach these a bunch of resiliency skills to this. I've taught over 5,000 soldiers in the military these skills, and that in itself is one way I was able to start identifying that. I had already started therapy at that point, and just one thing after another kind of unlocked why it's important to reframe negative thoughts
Mm-hmm.
into positive thoughts, because if you don't do that, you end up like I was before I started therapy, and I was just really, really angry all the time. And you don't get anything accomplished with that. You don't build relationships when you're like that. You don't do anything. And so really learning how to reframe negative thoughts to positive thoughts, it's taken me a long ways. And even outside of the military, in the business world, I mean, my goodness, if I was just angry all the time, I think I'd have a very difficult time gaining clients in almost anything, unless maybe I was a construction worker or something like that.
Yeah, and even there, it probably would be a little bit of an issue.
It would cause problems, but that I can't think of one place in my life where it hasn't proven beneficial, to be quite
Mhm.
honest with you.
Yeah, well, I bet. Yeah, I mean, that's even for a person who might never have been coached or might never have been to therapy, it makes sense because how can you separate those parts? It's one human being that has all these experiences and it makes sense.
Yep, it
So
it
yeah,
does make sense.
So who are the ideal people who would participate in this coaching cert or this certification program?
Well, ideally, they would be coaches who maybe they're at the point where they're just launching their business and they would like some tools to be able to use to coach their clients to success. Whether they're a leadership and executive coach or a life coach, it doesn't matter. These tools just they work for any of those modalities. To be quite honest with you, I do address the teamwork aspect and stuff like that in my coaching program, but it's but coaches and also therapists who have the heart to want to graduate some of their clients, but they haven't been able to figure out a way to, and they would like to add some tools to their toolkit to be able to make that happen.
Hmm. And in our conversation, you also mentioned that you will have a little bit of a process to kind of select also the people who are going to join the program. So what does that look like?
Well, it's just an interview. I need to make sure that whoever I'm bringing into my program, that they have enough life experience, that they have enough work experience to go out and actually coach people. If they're really really fresh, or maybe they've had very little experience, or they haven't hit any of those big audacious goals or whatnot, or maybe they don't have the right heart to serve, then they wouldn't be an ideal person for a program that has my stamp on it. I mean, I want to provide tools to people that really have the heart of servant leaders, that
Hmm.
really want to go out and help their fellow man and woman. And if they have enough experience to be able to do that, they're going to knock it out of the park.
Mm.
If they don't have the experience to do that, and they're just that person who, I don't want to work for anybody anymore, I just want to go out and start a business, and since coaching isn't regulated, I think this would be an easy way to make money, you're not going to be my ideal person.
Yeah, well, I hope that that kind of mindset that person doesn't become a coach anyway.
No, I don't want them to be, but you know what, they exist.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
that's true. There are a lot of people, but it's all about, like, everything is about giving and serving and being able to help others, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's ultimately our all of our purpose here on this earth is to serve others, right? Otherwise,
Yes.
we'd probably be like the little prince who lived on his own little planet. And so,
Yes.
exactly, your dog seems to be of the same opinion there.
I think the dog liked what you had to say.
Exactly. I think so. He just barked at me and said, "Yes, I agree." So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And that is like ultimately also the kind of energy and atmosphere that I got from our conversation earlier, and that you are also, everything in you and what you do is about giving to others and serving others and helping others become better at whatever they do.
Yes. Yes. My goal in life is to help people win. It really, really is. When I said that in the beginning of our call, when you put me on the spot there to give 5 words, that really describes what my goal in life is right now.
Hmm.
And really, it was the same way in the military. I wanted to bring people up with all the tools, the skills, and the abilities to do even better than I was doing. And if they grew in rank even more than I did, that was more of a win to me than somebody that only stopped where I was, because I wanted everybody to win.
Well, I think that's a very good foundation for, something very successful. And I do hope that this program, I mean, I'm sure that it will get filled. I will talk about it to other people. I will definitely spread the message because I believe this is just revolutionary.
Well, thank
You
you.
know, yes, absolutely. And so where do people find you and how do they find out about the program?
So where do they find me? If you Google Victory Leadership Coaching, you'll find me. If you go to hashtag veteran leader trainer, all one word, I'm there. Also, Warrior Leadership, hashtag Warrior Leadership, LDRSHIP. All of those things will find me all over the place. I recommend you book a call with me if you're interested in the program. My website will pop up if you Google me. Please go there. There's information on my certification there as well. There's also information about my training for new managers. That's always there. That will always be available because I believe that they're probably the ones who need training the most. There's some nurturing that needs to be done there instead of just throwing those guys into the role after a promotion. But that's basically where you can find me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I mean, I think we could have gone on for a lot longer.
Yes. And we will when we do our call on my podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. So tell people about what is the name of the podcast?
So I have two of them, but the one that you're going to be a guest on, it's called Victory Leaders Lounge. I mentioned Warrior Leadership earlier, but
Mhm.
Victory Leaders Lounge, it's a podcast where I bring on entrepreneurs. I bring on people who have transitioned from the military and become successful. And I bring all of these people on with the message that anybody from any background can go from one place to successful, and that's all you have to do is be intentional about it.
Great. Well, I can't wait to be on your show.
Yes,
And
I'm excited about it as well.
yeah, we get to continue our conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
And yeah, I look forward to everything that's to come with your program and all that. And so thank you so much for being here, JJ.
Thank you, Paula.
And yeah, thank you so much for everyone who's been here and also people who are watching the replay. Please send your comments and questions, everything in the comments, and we'll get to you. And we hope to see you next week with another guest in the spotlight. And there we go. So I'll see you very soon. Thank